Hello, and welcome to episode number 17 of Boutique Talk. My name is Jake Boston, otherwise known as Steelbook Obsessed on all your major social media platforms. And if you want to listen to all things physical media related, then you've come to the right place. Every week, I have on a new guest to talk about their physical media journey. And tonight, I am joined with a journeyman in the physical media industry with more than 25 years under his belt. Some of the companies that he has worked for are MGM, Sony Pictures, Anchor Bay, and Kino Lorber. Currently, he is the Director of Acquisitions and Sales at MVD. It is my pleasure to introduce Eric D. Wilkinson. Eric, how's it going?
It's going good. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. You are the first person I've actually had in the industry to have on this podcast.
Really?
So
Wow.
I'm going to pick your brain left and right. I hope you're okay with that.
I am okay. I think it's funny. I started taking the word sales when I started MVD. I was involved, heavily in sales and acquisitions. But once MVD got a little taste of my, it wasn't just the acquisitions I was doing, not just picking up the movies, but wanting to make cool special editions. Two things happened. The sales became a little less and less, because my focus shifted a little more towards the acquisitions and the producing of the releases.
Sure.
And all the accounts they gave me went out of business. So Family Video, gone. Netflix, gone. I'm trying to think.
Best Buy.
Best Buy, gone. I'm like, Redbox still there, but doesn't buy any of our stuff anyway. So,
right, it's shrinking more and more red boxes. What are your two cents on Best Buy kind of getting out of the physical media game?
I mean, it's not that they were great, but it was, I probably feel the same way that everyone else feels. Like, it was nice knowing that they were there when I wanted to go in there. So if my son was at his guitar lesson and I had 45 minutes to kill, I'd go over to Best Buy and cruise the aisles and every once in a while I'd pick up this or I'd pick up that. And, I miss that. And, you are Steelbook obsessed. I really liked the Steelbooks and stuff that they did. I'm not crazy. I'm not a crazy Steelbook collector, but it's fun. I say that, but recently I bought like 7 of them, but I don't lose any sleep over not getting Steelbooks. But
see, I'm the exact opposite. I'm hoping that Steelbooks at Walmart will still be okay. I have no idea. I think Walmart's the wild west.
I'll tell you this, and this is the sales. This is where I guess my sales experience can probably, and this is my opinion, but probably could shine a little light on it. The difference between Best Buy and Walmart is Best Buy requires less numbers of units because there are less stores. So there was less of a risk to go into a Best Buy with something exclusive because an initial ship to a Best Buy might be anywhere between 3,000 and 6,000 units.
Sure.
Walmart, on the other hand, has a lot more stores. So when we put something into Walmart, it could be anywhere from 12 to 20,000 units.
Man.
So there's if you put 15,000 units of something in a Walmart store and you only sell 5, we have 10 left over. And as a collector, we don't just collect this because we love the movies. It's also an investment. And when you do something exclusive, I don't like to see things go out of print, but it's nice to know that every once in a while, a piece in my collection becomes valuable. But when you press 20, 30, 40, 50,000 of something, and you only sell 10 or 20, the next thing you know, you have Walmart liquidating that product and you find it elsewhere cheaper, and the value of what you bought, that no one likes to see a Steelbook that you paid $30 for being sold. It drives me nuts. And then I see it sold for $7.99 or something, great for the guy who waited, but you're screwing the guy that supported you and bought that on street date.
Correct. No, it's a slippery slope because me as a collector, I like to get my stuff for as cheap as possible, honestly, just to kind of bulk up everything.
Too. But there are some, even with Steelbooks, I mean, I'm thinking too that I had to have Top Gun Maverick Steelbook at Target because it came with the Blu-ray. It was I loved the look and the case of that. And Guardians of the Galaxy, I think 1 and 2 Steelbooks. I don't know if I bought the third. I didn't get the third one on Steelbook, but I just liked the way they looked. And Guardians 2 came with the 3D Blu-ray. I'm a huge fan. I'm still a huge fan of 3D.
Ooh, okay. That's an avenue I kind of want to creep into as well. Your mic sounds a little muffly. It was fine when we tested before, but it's starting to go a little wonky now.
Should I do this thing?
Maybe if it changes things, maybe a little bit. But
we're live, so I can't.
I know, right?
I think the last time I was live, I don't know if I've done one of these live, but I used to be. My first foray into the entertainment business was I lasted maybe a year and a half as a regular on Dance Party USA. Good luck finding videos of it. There are some out there though.
Well, one thing I like about you, I follow you on social media platforms, and not only do you help make all of this physical media, but you can see behind you, you're an avid collector as well.
Yeah, I got a lot. I have a lot. I have a huge collection. I think my spreadsheet says about I'm close to 11,000, but there's so much in boxes and things that I haven't like registered to keep track of. I'm probably at about all in, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, Laserdisc, VHS, and other various formats. I'm probably at about 12,000 discs strong, give or take.
Yeah. If you want to try to plug in, I can kind of talk about. You made a very cool video about how you have at least one copy of every single physical media format that's ever been released. Yeah. I tried to do that with me too, but in that video, you introduced a couple formats that I'd never even heard of, because I only started collecting. I mean, I was collecting off and on as just like, hey, I'm a movie lover. I want to collect the movies I love ever since I was like 14, 15 years old. But I really started collecting in like the Blu-ray day. So I really had no idea about like some of like the boutique labels until like, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, something like that. But I mean, I have laser discs, I have CEDs. You were coming out with ones that like I've vaguely heard of, like a DivX player, like the releases that like you have once and then like the copy is like disappeared forever. Physical media is wonky sometimes.
It is. Do I sound any better? Is this better?
Man, it's like a static feedback almost.
Yeah, I don't know. I have good signal, so this isn't helping.
Not really, no. Unfortunately, not.
Well, then let me lose it. How about now?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I'm looking for my signal now. I don't know. I got full bars.
That's very bizarre. Yeah, we can keep on going as is. Hopefully, it's not irritating to everybody out there.
But yeah, as far as formats, there are formats that existed before. The Cartravision was the first. That one I never owned or collected, but I did want to buy and have one of them just for the sake of having it. But when the first format we had in my household were CED discs, which is what we modeled our 4K LaserVision collection from. Right.
I was gonna go over that. I have some like examples to show off, like CD. They look phenomenal. Yeah. I don't even have a player. I just randomly found these in a Goodwill. They were like 12
I wish that, I see people making videos and TikToks and of showing off these hauls at Goodwill, but my Goodwills don't have anything good like that.
Mine rarely do, but when you find it, you grab it quick.
Oh my gosh, I would buy bad movies. Yeah, so there's a few people that had no clue like what I was doing with that packaging at all.
And I think the people that this Rewind collection is focused on really is the collector, somebody who has loved movies for the longest time. So I love that you put like little bits and pieces of like physical media trivia almost inside of your release.
Yeah, it's not just about it's more than the movie. You know what I mean? I was having a conversation with somebody today, another one of our labels today that we distribute, and who are kind of new to picking up older releases and releasing them. And my best advice to him is just remember they wanted to make all new artwork for an older film. And I reminded them that, we sell nostalgia. We're not just selling the movie. We sell nostalgia. And people, there are two types of people, I believe, that, of collectors that buy these. There's the older collector that the movie reminds them of their youth, of when they were growing up. Maybe they saw it in the video store or their dad bought it for them or whatever. And it looked like that when they were a kid. And then there's a younger collector who was too young to have that experience, but wants to own it the way it was. You know what I mean? And so on the outside, it looks classic. On the inside, we try to put the best quality version.
And I can honestly say I've gotten the 4K copies of Ghoulies and Swamp Thing. These are the two that I've watched. They look phenomenal. Like I could not believe how better. great Ghoulies looked. I just got in cutting class. Have not had a chance to watch it yet, but I cannot wait to, because
I got my copy of that too. I feel like I made the cover too dirty on that one.
I don't think so. Why do you say that?
I think I went overboard. Like sometimes when I see it printed, I'm like, I would have backed that off a little. Hindsight, I would have backed that off a little bit.
Well, let's go into a little bit of that process, because not a lot of people that collect physical media actually get a look behind the curtain like that. Yeah. When you start with your drafts of like putting physical media artwork together, how do you even start going about putting an idea in your head like that?
So when we have a title, the first and foremost thing I do is, what's the original artwork look like? And I look at two different pieces of artwork. I'll look at the original. If it had a theatrical release, I'll look at the poster. And then I always look up the VHS artwork. And 95% of the time, it's going to get if it's not identical, it gets a variation of that. Rarely do I deviate from it. I'm reminded of when we put Bram Stoker's Shadow Builder out. I thought the VHS artwork I hated it. It's terrible. But because I have respect for my fellow collectors, I remember when what I did was I announced it early because I had to show them. I put both pieces of artwork that I had up. I said, you guys decide. I let them know which one I liked. I'm like, you guys decide what's going to be the A side and what's going to be the B side. And everyone, the majority chose the crappier artwork that was on the VHS to be the A side of it. But that just sort of supported my thought about, they want to have it as they remembered it. And while I don't love that artwork on that cover, that is how it was.
I think there is a powerful drug that nostalgia kind of brings together. And if you see something that you haven't even thought about for years, maybe decades, but you see that artwork kind of pressed upon you, I guess online now, you might feel more of like an impulse buy, almost, you could say, as opposed to just like seeing the title and maybe not even remembering the movie.
Yeah, and sometimes, listen, there are other times where, and a good example of this is like Split Second. That artwork, first, we had a decent resolution of the original artwork from that, but that artwork, is just, it's not that it's bad, it just wasn't very good either. And I knew that was a title coveted by a lot of people, and that's one we hired to do designs to do packaging for. And if you're familiar with his work, I love his work. And if you're familiar with it, you'll see that there's a nostalgia flavor to it. Same thing with, I think, Jack Frost 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. I was never going to recreate that lenticular cover that they had done for those. Or, I mean, I guess I could have, but I found some, I think it was in Mexico or Portugal. I found a piece of artwork online made by an artist that did it for fun, and I fell in love with it. I call it the ice cream artwork. He did like that ice cream look.
Yep.
And I dug up his email. I emailed him. He licensed that to us so we could use it on the cover. And I asked him to draw up one for the second one. And that was one he made for us for part 2.
I love it when I'm okay with like original artwork like this. And on the inside, you have like at least something from the movie. I like it when the slipcover is different from the actual artwork that's on the inside.
And then my brother, we designed the picture on the inside is not from any previous release. That was just, again, we didn't have any of the materials to sort of recreate the original artwork. And I believe it was done before on the Vinegar. I think the Vinegar Syndrome did the original artwork or a variation of it anyway. So I just wanted to do something that differentiated our release. And I like how those covers came out.
Okay. Well, we're talking a little about the Rewind collection now. I kind of want to play. I have the intro title card from the Rewind collection. I'm going to play it here, and then we'll talk a little bit more, because I just want to get people like into the mood of what this label is kind of all about.
Sure.
I don't know. There's just something about a good title card that gets you in the mood. Like, okay, I am back in the days of when I used to pop in VHS, and that's how I watched everything. I get a smile every time that comes on.
Yeah, my brother David, who designs, works on the artwork for the Rewind collection. He edited that and put that together. I sort of dictated what I kind of wanted. I had ideas, and then we sort of, he's my brother, so we share a brain, and it just came together. It just came together beautifully. I knew I wanted the goal for the logo was I wanted it to start out like a videotape. And the goal was that by the time it gets to the end of it, the gone is that VHS sort of tapey look, and it's in crisp HD.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like what we're trying to sell. That's sort of a metaphor or of what we're selling. And that the Rewind collection is a classic film, but presented in a good quality. And that's how that. If you look at the logo, it sort of tells that story.
So do you think your laser vision collection, it's still part of kind of sort of the Rewind collection?
It's a sister label to the Rewind collection. We didn't give it hindsight being 2020, you've just given me an idea. Maybe I should make a laser vision collection, should get its own bumper. And I'm going to talk to my brother about making one for future releases.
I'd love that, because you could even go further and kind of do
further. I want to copy the seat. If you look on there were two openings for the CED disc, the RCA Selectivision, and you have just given me a great idea. I can't obviously rip their music off, but I can certainly pay homage to that, and it's a good idea.
Yes. If I have any inkling in trying to get like a new title card, title cards are something that I geek out over. I always have ever since a kid. Yeah.
If you get a chance, look up RCA Selectivision video disc, opening bumper or title card. Sure. You got to see. There's two of them. There was one in the early days, and then one I guess towards the end of the format's demise, where they updated it, which is kind of cool.
I will definitely take a look at that. But you've been working at MVD for almost 10 years now. Is that correct?
Yeah.
How have you seen kind of just the past 10 years of physical media through MVD? How have you seen it kind of evolve and switch and transform into what it is now?
I mean, the evolution, certainly was sort of the evolution it's become of a collector's market. I mean, when I started, our bigger accounts were, Family Video and Redbox and Netflix Physical. They were bought, and we put a lot of titles in the Walmart new release. I don't do nearly as many now. Mm-hmm. So I saw I knew the transition was coming. I started in January 2015, and I think we launched the Rewind collection by 2016 or 2017. So I can't remember. I think it was 2017. But I knew I could see the shift coming in regards to it being if in order for MVD to continue to grow and be healthy, I wanted to see this company focus on the collector's market, and that's why on one end we're a distributor, which we're the distribution partner for Arrow and Blue Underground and Severin and Synapse and Fun City Editions and all these great labels. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I wanted MVD to have their own boutique label. It was sort of, for two reasons. One, I knew it was good business, and two, it's something it was a backyard that I wanted to play in.
Right. And honestly, I think with your Selectivision titles that you have right now, you're kind of building a name in like the boutique space just because of the high quality releases that you're getting. Like, I was so excited when you guys announced Swamp Thing as your number one. I've been trying to find a copy of that to watch myself, and I just absolutely could not. And not only were you releasing it, I could watch it in 4K for the first time. And it was just a phenomenal release. And it was a different cut of the film too. I know I'd never seen it before, but you had like an extended version of it.
Yeah. When I worked at MGM, I worked at MGM at the time that when it first came out on DVD, and I guess when they were pulling the masters to put the DVD out, there were two cuts of the film. There was the PG domestic theatrical cut, and then there was what they call the international cut, which I guess in international means that they like more nudity in their movies. But they were contractually obligated. They weren't, or they weren't contractually permitted to release that version in the U.S. without Adrian Barbeau's permission, and no one had ever successfully gotten that permission until we got the title.
So that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. If you look it up, the articles are still online, but MGM shipped Blockbuster like 10,000 copies of the Swamp Thing DVD when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it says PG, and I think a mother rented it for her kid, only to it have copious amounts of nudity and such in it. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, took the disc back to Blockbuster, complained, it became a news story. MGM had to recall the discs and repress them. And but it started, American audiences or North American audiences. Oh, there's another version of this film, and now all of a sudden that recalled disc became a collector's item. And then every time the movie was released on by Shout Factory or MGM, they were also, well, give us both cuts. And I was part of what took me so long to put that out, because we had the rights for about a year, more than a year and a half, between me restoring the film and doing the restoration. I had to take the time to talk to the lovely people on Adrian Barbeau's team, who were very they were very negotiable, and they worked with us. And I was very honest with them and explained why it's important to collectors. And it's something, it's not so much a salacious reason that we want to put this international cut. It's just that when collectors know that there are more than one version of a film, when we buy a disc, we like to have the option. Most of the time I watch the theatrical cut on that anyway, because I don't think the extra scenes added anything to the story. But it's nice to know that it's there if I did want to watch that cut. And that goes for any film.
And that's what collectors want. When they buy a title, they want as much bang for their buck as they possibly can.
Absolutely. Like even when I was working on My Samurai, we had an audio problem with that thing. And I could not find any good audio sources. It never came out on a Laserdisc. I had nothing to fix the audio. The audio was okay, but I wanted to make it better. And when all else failed, I'm like, well, I'll just go on eBay. I'll buy I bought like a brand, or it wasn't brand new, but it was like a mint condition VHS of My Samurai. I get it home and pop it in, and turns out that the VHS is a different cut of the film than the master that we have. So I never made the audio, and I think I went on our socials and I told people, like, look, I did my best. The audio's good, not great. Just warning you when you buy this. But I said the good news is in my trying to fix that audio, I found an alternate version of the film. I digitized the VHS and put it on there as a bonus feature. So it's a different cut with a different score, and you have the option to watch. People like the VHS versions. I think they're fun to look at. I've re-fallen in love with VHS, so you won't ever hear me complain about it.
No, I have about 500-ish VHS tapes. There's just something about popping a tape into the player. I have the built-in like VCR into the tube TV. There's just something about that just hits different. Yeah.
A retro media room. I realized it wasn't the quality. When I got rid of all my VHS years ago, I'm thinking I'm never going to watch these things again. They suck. But, again, it's about nostalgia. There's just something. There are not every movie, but there's some movies just feel right on VHS. You know what I mean? Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 1974, was made to be watched on VHS. That's my second choice to a beat up 16 millimeter print in a crappy movie theater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, it's more like childhood nostalgia kind of kicks in.
It is.
For me, like Goosebumps, I have a bunch of those that I pop in there. I'm a 90s kid. Just Goofy movie, Blank Check, just like all of that. Yeah, all that stuff just kind of hits you different.
Doesn't it?
When you pop it in.
There's something. I watched on Saturday. I watched Dumb and Dumber, and I have it on Blu-ray. But I'm like, I'm gonna watch this on VHS on my crappy CRT television, and I loved it.
I popped Basketball in the other day. I have it on Blu-ray, but I wanted to watch it on VHS, and I remembered the trailers that played beforehand just because I watched that sucker so often in high school. It was just,
That's the best part about watching VHS. You know what I love? When I find the the promo screening copies that they would send to the video stores, because they have all these trailers and commercials with copy depth programs and all. I love that stuff. Love it.
It's the best. You said you had over 11,000 items, like
mostly all, 10,000 plus are all discs.
Right. Do you have a certain format that you like collecting for more than others?
I mean, no. I mean, I'll
just all of it.
I mean, I probably, if I had to rank them, Blu-ray would be first.
Sure.
I do love the 4K. I do love the 4K format, but I don't think every movie needs to be upgraded to 4K. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned basketball. I love basketball. Would I rebuy that on 4K? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Blu-ray's just fine for me. Yes.
At the same time, though, if like the other last week, Sympathy for the Devil Steelbook was $13.99 on Amazon, and it's 4K plus Blu-ray. Of course, I'm going to buy that. If it's a newer movie, it's on 4K already. I went right to the 4K on that.
Right.
So the price is right.
Sure. We have a few people watching in here. I'm going to throw in random questions that they have sporadically in here. But one for Movie Hunter: will MVD ever come out with a Steelbook line?
I do want to. The answer is yes. When, I don't know. I do want to do Steelbooks. The challenge is I'm sort of a one-man band, and it's very possible that we could do a Steelbook line. I do. The answer is yes. I want to try to get a few more 4Ks out first, because there's stuff that I'm working on. But the two things I want to do is I want a Steelbook line, and I also I want to do limited runs of VHS. Like I want to do but I want the packaging and everything to look like it did. So I want to do the House and Sorority Row VHS tape. I want to do re-releases on VHS, and I want to use the original VHS full frame masters. I don't want to do letterbox on VHS. I want to get it right. I want to put like cool trailers and stuff, and the bumpers. I want to make a really fun experience if people buy one of our VHS tapes. But I want to do VHS, and I do plan on doing. I do want to do a Steelbook, do a couple.
I love the answers to both of those, and there have been a couple of boutique labels that have put out VHS. I know Vinegar Syndrome did with like the light up boxes. I don't know if you saw those or not with Rad, and those look crazy.
They're crazy. I mean, I don't want to get fancy. I just want to, again, I just want to have a cool, I just want to recreate the experience on VHS. We toyed with. I worked with. Like, here's something I worked on. I can tell you, I'm just gonna get up. Like, I was sitting in a meeting with Charles Band. I had gone to an autograph show, and I was sitting in a meeting with Charles Band, and telling him that I was at this autograph show, and I couldn't help but to notice that they were selling Parasite on VHS original copies for like $125 at this show, and he proceeded to tell me that he retained the VHS rights, like he didn't own the any other rights. He says he still had the right. He added there was some sketchy wording in his contract that if he wanted to put this out on VHS again, he could. So I talked him into doing an exact, and I mean exact replica. I oversaw the last color, every little bit of detail. I mean, he got it right too. Even the label he got right on there. Which I didn't open this one. I think I have an open one somewhere else, but. We did a run of these, and I overpriced them. I think they were expensive for him to make, and this was a few years ago. But they did eventually. If they're not sold out, we're finally close to selling these out. But I want to do this again, and I really want to make it. I'm so proud of how exact we got this. The only thing that's different is it's got a UPC on the bottom.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to replicate, but I mean, I love how you're kind of just, with the video, the laser vision line, how you just kind of have like the CED aspect. If you actually put like that much love and care into a VHS release as well, that would do gangbusters. There was a Umbrella Video came out with like a Terrifier This Is Art set, and it came with a VHS of Terrifier. It's like one of the favorite things I own, just because it's nice to have new VHS.
Who put that out? Terrifier 2 or 1?
1, the first one.
Who put that out?
Umbrella Entertainment.
Oh, from the UK. texting or trading emails. We distribute the first one in the U.S. and I'm trying to do a 4K. I want to do that on a Steelbook, and I want to do a VHS of it. But we'll see if I ever get to it.
I think all of those would do gangbusters. The Terrifier cult is real. Maybe closer to like when the third one gets released or something. That would be
I just bought the Steelbook of Terrifier 2 from Amazon because it was $11.99.
Nice. Yeah, there's two different Steelbooks. There's a Blu-ray and a 4K one.
I think I got the Blu-ray one. That was $11.99. That's a good example of me not rushing to get the 4K. And I doubt, does it look better on 4K? I don't know.
Right. I bought the 4K at Best Buy because it was $11.99, even though I had the Blu-ray. Just like I can't say no to cheap prices. Like have you had like a last gung-ho shopping experience at Best Buy? I just had one a couple weeks ago.
I put up a TikTok on my you can follow me on TikTok at Indie Producer. That's Indie with 2 E's. But I put up a video. I filmed me going in. I filmed the shelves because it's like my last official trip to Best Buy. So yeah, I did. Right. I loaded up.
Yeah, I don't know. It just hit different when you know something's gonna go away. You just kind of have to like reminisce and soak it in while you can. I know that in the retail space, things are still changing. They're talking about having physical releases only come out bi-weekly instead of weekly. Just everything is changing.
That makes sense though. And the funny thing is if you look at MVD's been doing bi-weekly since I've been there. Like there are some people that we set it up so the second and fourth Tuesdays are our release date. We try to get our labels to put the titles out on the second or the fourth. The reason is it saves on shipping because the distributor can put all the packages together. You don't want to ship too early because you don't want street dates to leak, but I think it saves on shipping. I don't have a problem with that. And for us collectors, it gives us a break that, we only have so much money, and it gives us a break to take a breath between weeks, although you get more dropping though on the weeks that they do come out. So maybe I don't know I guess it doesn't make a difference because
my fingers crossed hope of hopes is the main reason why they did this is because probably 85% of this will be Walmart, and that'll actually give that team that helps put everything together, make it look nice if all of the new stuff comes out once every other week instead of once every week. Because I don't know about your locations, but I probably have 4 Walmarts in a 25-mile span, and each one is vastly different. I'm really hoping that they have some type of coherency out there when they are the main dog in the physical media retail
the problem
space.
I can't say for certain, but I think I think no one's provided me with any specific information, so I can only speculate.
Sure.
But I know if you think back, even back in 2015, 2014, 2016, Walmart used to have merchandisers. They used to come in and fill the shelves. The employees themselves didn't touch the merchandise.
I think they still do.
You say they do, but I noticed a change at one point that my speculation is I don't think they have merchandisers anymore. I think they're relying on the employees to put the stuff out, that the employees get a printed planogram, tells them where everything goes. But how many times have you gone into a Walmart, especially on a new release day, you see empty shelves, or even worse, empty shelves with a Walmart shopping cart full to the brim with discs that are supposed to be put out that aren't, that are sitting in boxes in a shopping cart.
Right. I see that a lot, and sometimes I get there early enough to where they're in the process of changing things out, and this was a couple of months ago. They said that they don't work for Walmart, which kind of made me think that it's a third party.
They do, if they're using merchandisers, and so I could be wrong, which is fine, but the merchandisers suck. Then I'm glad because I feel for the Walmart employees. It's a tough job for crappy pay. So if they're paying a merchandiser to go in there and a merchandiser is watching this, do better. As collectors, there's nothing more deflating than going to, I rarely buy discs or anything at Walmart. I think I bought one of the Vestron Video Collector series. I may have been in Walmart because it was there. I bought it maybe once last year. On Black Friday, I bought nothing at Walmart. Nothing. Yeah. And that's saying something. That used to be a go-to. The biggest loss for me as a collector, the fact that Best Buy is getting out of physical media. I mean, Black Friday's just over.
I know.
I mean, how we lived as collectors First of all, I loved it when the stores opened at 5 a.m. and I'd be waiting outside from two. I wouldn't sleep out a week in advance, but I'd get up at 2, 3 in the morning, get dressed, drive out to Best Buy, and wait in that line to be first in line to get the discs that I wanted. Yeah. And then when they started doing it on Thanksgiving, loved it even more. Then I could just eat dinner and then afterward go out shopping. I miss those days. I feel bad that the employees had to work, but I mean, I loved going out on Thanksgiving night and shopping.
As a consumer, it was fun because you knew you were never going to get any better deals than Black Friday. So you went hog wild. At least I did. Yeah.
And the thing that was great about Best Buy and then being in the physical media business, especially on Black Friday, is if Best Buy had $3.99 Blu-rays, and then Amazon would price match. But now that Best Buy's going away, this is why competition is good, and this is why monopolies are bad, because with Best Buy going away, Amazon may not feel the need to go that low on price anymore.
Right. And for me, like Best Buy, I loved going there because it was a big steelbook hub. And I know that right now Walmart is talking about how the majority of locations will have like a steelbook section. And I really hope they do, but I just hope that sucker is packed all the time. And when new releases come out, they're out that day. Because if it's not right away, I feel like they're going to lose a lot of goodwill that they are currently getting.
And and this one hurts me too. And I'm not speaking ill of them, but like FYE could be amazing for collectors if they wanted to be.
Yeah.
They could be amazing. They already sell a lot of cool stuff that I like to buy, although their prices aren't great. But that's why I say they could be amazing. They could have all the stuff that we want, the collectors want. They could have sections for Arrow and Blue Underground and Shout and Criterion. Instead they have a lot of used shit in their store. Sorry, excuse my language. Like they don't do a good job of curating. Not a lot of cool steel books in there anymore, especially a friend of mine who used to work for Lionsgate who used to do those. Doesn't work there. Like the exclusives are gone. It's frustrating because you have a retailer that's still open, that they could turn it around, but they just don't know. They don't quite understand who their customers are, or at least who their customers could be.
Right. No, in 2024, I feel like a lot of my physical media shopping is going to happen at the thrift stores, at the secondhand stores, and that's not really good for the future of physical media in my opinion.
Because when you buy one of them, it doesn't count towards. It's great for us,
right?
Because
you're
recycling and you're building your collection rather cheaply, but it doesn't. They don't count used sales when you hear that annual, physical media sold $2 billion, dollars worth this year. Those used sales aren't included in those, which is, but I think it's also, and I'm hoping places like Grindhouse Video or Orbit DVD, Diabolic DVD, who I love Diabolic. I was in their warehouse yesterday. I wanted to make a video. It was like I died and went to heaven.
I bet, yeah.
Jesse, that warehouse is, if you're a collector, it's like a dream to walk in there because, first of all, every release you could possibly want lines all these huge tall shelves, and then he's got all the imports. I was picking up because we were going somewhere. If I had spent any amount of time there, I could easily drop thousands of dollars walking through there. There's so much stuff I wanted. You have no idea.
Whenever Criterion's been very nice the past couple of years to do like those Criterion closets. I love watching like celebrities go in there, pick out their favorite movies. They're so good. Does MVD have like a section like that in your warehouse at all?
No, but it's not a bad idea. I'm gonna mention that to the boss. That would be fun. Let's start do we have enough titles though? I only have 60 rewind titles. Since I got 50 marquee titles, we could.
You could do a shelf like this at least. I mean, you were saying how you guys distribute a lot of the boutique labels. Just kind of have that everything and make it more of like a focused hub for the website.
Yeah, but they would take all the better. They would take all the Arrow titles and leave movies like Ski Patrol and Hail Caesar behind, and I'd be hurt. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the closet in my house so the cool celebrities come to my house and they get their free movies.
That's thinking right there, man. Let's see. I know you tried to. Right now, you are currently doing the Rewind collection in MVD. You started having that mindset when you worked at Kino Lorber. You kind of helped them focus more on the cult movies as opposed to what they were doing.
It wasn't so much that I wanted to add to what they were doing at the time that I got to Kino Lorber, and this is before, long before the Studio Classics line, which is amazing. When I got there, I wanted to, they were really known for that foreign and that art house and that classic silent Hollywood films, and I wanted to. My goal was like, well, how can I add to this? How can I grow their business? And I thought, is there a way to put some more mainstream product out without interfering with their branding? So one of the things I did is I started what I called Horizon Movies, which was a name that Kino Lorber or Kino had used years ago to put out somebody's movie, and I sort of resurrected it with a new logo. And if you look on the back of the packaging of their version of The Hills Have Eyes 2, you'll see it doesn't mention Kino at all. It just says Horizon Movies, like it's its own thing. Just came out of our office. So, I started picking up new releases and some classic catalog stuff and putting it out under Horizon Movies. And then, things started to change with the Redemption catalog, which I was involved with the line look and the design of that. And then we had the Jezebel line, which was sort of those, I call them, I don't know, sexy 60s, sexy films from the 60s and 70s. We had the Mario Bava brand line. We started to expand beyond, foreign and art house and old silent films, and tried to do, my goal while I was there, my goal was like, how do we grow our business? How can we do something more and different that doesn't cannibalize our existing business, just adds to it? And that, and then we started picking up, I'm trying to think, in addition to Hills Have Eyes 2, one of the classic, the Kino Classics was this Metropolis.
Sure. Here, let me make it big a little bit here, because that packaging looks very cool.
So we did I don't know if it's working. We did the lenticular cover.
Yep.
That was my idea. I watched it for the first time when I was at Kino. I'm like, oh, I want to make a lenticular cover with the rings. And then my very first special edition that I produced was, because we had this Metropolis, but I remembered in the 80s during the MTV era that there was a version called Giorgio Moroder Presents Metropolis. And basically what it was they took the film, but they cut it to pop music instead of an orchestral score. And it had music by, Freddie Mercury and Giorgio Moroder and Pat Benatar and Bonnie Tyler and Queen and Adam Ant and more. So I found a collector with a print, and we did a 2K scan of the print. I discovered that there was a documentary short that they tried to submit to win an Oscar in 1984 about the making of this film. And I found the filmmaker, and he sent it to me, and we digitized it, and we made a nice special edition. And I'm proud to say I won my first and only Saturn Award for the Giorgio Moroder Presents Metropolis.
And for those that aren't in the know, what is the Saturn Awards?
The Saturn Awards is the Academy of Sci-Fi, Fantasy, and Horror. They're like the Oscars of genre films.
So that's very, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Then they have a category for physical media, which is great. Yeah. Very cool. I've been nominated like 4 times. I only won once.
At least you won. At least you have one of the trophies. Where is it at in your house?
It's not. It gets to say Kino because they paid for the whole thing. I see.
I didn't know if you could pay for your own just to have it. That would have been nice. Well,
that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
Sure. Let's go back a little bit to what you were saying. It sounds like you're very thorough in trying to get as much extras packed into every release. And even with the Metropolis, you said you tracked down a 2K scan, the original 2K scan. You tracked down a documentary that you put in there. How do you go about the process of actually finding these people? It sounds like a very hard thing to do if like that information isn't out there at all.
Starts
Just
with
Google everything?
and Google and IMDb Pro. And the other thing though, I've produced a few movies, so I know there are some people that I know that that I can lean on and say, hey, do you know this person or do you know that person? And that helps sometimes.
Sure, yeah.
Sometimes it's, when we were working on joysticks, I found Leaf Green's phone number on the internet and I just called him. I introduced myself. I invited him to join us on our commentary, but he respectfully declined. But we talked on the phone for 2 hours, told me amazing stories. So, it was great. As a geek, I was loving every minute of that.
Sure. I've always known, like with any boutique label, like how they kind of get the exclusive interviews that they do, and it has to be either like hard work and just like kind of digging to see if they can get that information, or just somebody and happenstance happens.
It's determination. I mean, like Van Damme, I was just determined. At the same, and we got lucky. It was great. It was a challenge to work around. His schedule, was always hectic. But we finally, got what we needed, not once, but twice with Van Damme. At the same time, I'll say when I was working on the two Noah Baumbach films, Highball and Mr. Jealousy, I think at one point his agent wanted to kill me. Like, I deserve any anger that was. I was aggressive. I really wanted his involvement in those, especially Highball, because he disowned it. And I'm like, we did a really great feature-length documentary on the making of Highball, and we got almost everybody involved with that film on that doc. It'd have been nice. I told his manager, whoever I was talking to, I'm like, he can trash me, he can trash the film or say whatever he wants, but we're just trying to get the truth.
Right.
But I understand. Listen, it's a film he took his name off of. I would not be doing my job if I didn't try my hardest to get these people to participate in these extras, because as collectors, we want to enjoy the movie, and then we want to see the story behind it. How did that movie get made? What can you tell me about it? And that's what I try to do.
Correct. I haven't seen that movie. Was he actually in the documentary talking about it? That Highball one?
Noah Baumbach?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So you pretty much just talked to his agent, and the agent's like, we want nothing to do
have
with
a lot of
this.
emails, but the last email exchange was, I'll just say, was terse. And, I was pushy or a little aggressive. I was getting frustrated because I really, everything was coming together so nice. But it's a movie he disowned, there's a reason. I'm sure there was, I don't want to say anything out of turn.
Sure.
I was disappointed that he didn't participate. At the same time, I am grateful for the things behind the scenes, the things that he did do.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
So, he was very generous. If anything, I was too pushy, and I take responsibility for that. But he was very generous with his time. I'm sure when we were talking to him, he's probably working on Barbie. So if anything, I'm like, dude, I got bigger things to worry about than $100,000 budget movie I made 25 years ago.
Right. When you come to make physical media, do you is there any type of I guess amount of for special features? How much money do you think gets put into that as opposed to like the transfer portion or the pressing portion? Well, does it vary from film to film?
It varies from film to film. I usually have a budget, so there are some movies that come with a pretty good master, and then I can try to spend a little more if I have to. I can spend a little more on bonus features. At the same time, with like Swamp Thing, because we did such an extensive transfer and restoration, my focus there, and because there was already a lot of bonus material that just sort of needed to be licensed and brought together into one place, I focused on gathering the existing materials rather than trying to make new. Excuse me, but it varies from title to title. Some titles, things come together great, and we get like lots of people involved, and we keep the budget in check. And the other ones, like for Hail Caesar, I really hoped I thought I had a good email. Like Anthony Michael Hall's managers didn't get back to me. He didn't get back to me, and it's the movie is what it is, but it's his only film as a director, and I would have loved to have spoken to him to see what how did it come about? How you directed this movie, and it was your third movie with Robert Downey Jr. and I think it was his third, but he had Sam Jackson in there and Judd Nelson, and I would have loved to have heard about his experience and got that on tape, and why he never directed again. I have lots of questions, or at least a movie again. He may have directed episodes of his TV series.
Sure. Well, I know that there are always people on the internet or that make videos on YouTube. They're like, why wasn't this person in these special features? And I think the majority of the time people reach out and they just say they want nothing to do with it anymore.
Sometimes they just don't want anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of, say, Double Dragon, the writers of Double Dragon were the showrunners for Better Call Saul. But when we reached out, it turns out that his name's escaping me. Peter Gould, maybe his name was. But it turns out the writer had met his wife while making that film. So even though he knew that was the film didn't turn out as they had hoped, it was a positive, fun experience for him. And he thought, it's a cult classic. I don't know if you've seen Double Dragon. It's a blast.
Yes.
And he said, here's a guy that was, won Emmys for Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And he happily took the time to sit down and let us interview him about one of his first movies in Hollywood, which is great. Sometimes that happens. It comes together, and sometimes it doesn't. The thing is, you have to ask. I'm not afraid to. You have to ask, will you do it? Sometimes they get back to you, sometimes they don't. And I won't name names. And some actors say yes, and they want I had one actor recently say yes, but they wanted $10,000, and I'm not going to spend $10,000 on a 15-minute interview unless it's so big and so important. It wasn't an actor I felt would move the needle all that much for that kind of money. I'll just say that.
So when actors get when you get interviews for actors, is it just kind of out of goodwill out of them? Or?
Sometimes out of goodwill. Sometimes depends on the actor. I don't begrudge an actor asking for, or a director or a writer asking for a little bit of money for their time. I'm okay with that. Provided it's within reason, within budget. But there was we had one actor that lived outside the country, and his son lived in LA, who rarely gave interviews. And he, instead of asking for money, he said, I'll tell you what, you fly me into LA. He said, fly me into LAX, but have a hotel room booked and ready. He said, you fly me in, after I land, we'll go over. My son will meet us at the hotel. You can interview me at the hotel. He just said all he wanted was a round trip ticket from his country so he could fly in, and he said he would do the interview, which was great.
Yeah.
Now that was, I think we spent $1,000 on the ticket, but well worth it.
Right. Yeah.
Depends on who it is. And I got him to reunite with his son, and we got it on camera, and it worked out very nice.
That's a win-win for everybody. It's nice when stuff like that works out. Yeah. Let's see. I have a couple more questions here from the audience that have been kind of flooding.
Sure, ask them. Ask away.
What movie do you think in any era that you released in MVD do you consider underrated?
All right, I'm turning around.
I love how you have every single one just stacked.
I just happen to have them back there. Underrated. Underrated. That means can I name two? Is that all right?
Go for it. Yeah.
Because it's got to be underrated. That means the audience would have to, it doesn't get as the right amount of love that it deserves.
Correct.
The first one, which is out of print now, is Went to Coney Island on a Mission from God, Be Back by 5.
I've never even heard of that movie, Eric.
It stars John Cryer, Ione Skye. It's really it's a good dramedy.
Huh.
But it's out of print. Didn't sell great. We let the license lapse.
Sure.
Highly recommended. That's underrated. Maybe Abominable. I mean, I'm trying to think of a movie that doesn't I'm just gonna say Went to Coney Island's probably our most underrated. That's fair.
Like I said, I don't even know what that movie's about. That title was so dang long.
That movie's about three friends who were best friends when they were young and in high school, and then when they got older, they sort of drifted and went their own ways, and they get back together because one of the friends they find out that the two friends get together to look for their other friend who's homeless and disappeared. So.
Interesting.
It's very good.
Gotcha. Another question we have here is, what's your favorite movie tagline? Do you have one off the top of your head?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. That would be hard for me to think on the spot.
The ones that pop there, I mean, I'm just trying to, the ones that pop into my head without even thinking about it. Shopping mall, where shopping costs you an arm and a leg. That I do love that tagline. And what's the other one? It's so funny. People don't know that I helped launch the Vestron Video Collector series, but that's for a whole nother.
I bet, yeah.
I did. If you look at the packaging, you'll see similarities.
Sure, absolutely.
Now
that you mention it,
that's why I waited till I think that came out in 2016. I was quietly involved through a proxy. Dictating much of that design look, the curating of the titles and everything. I didn't get paid for it or anything. I just did it out of love.
Sure.
Because I wanted free copies. But first they greet you, then they eat you. What's that one?
Oh, God. That sounds very familiar.
I mean, these are, I'm just trying to think of the fun movie taglines,
I was thinking of Ghoulies. They'll get you in the end when he's on the toilet.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That one's cute.
Yeah. Or Alien in space, no one will hear you scream. Like, that's the main one that comes to my head anytime I think of taglines. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that we're shopping will cost you an arm and a leg. It's just, I always thought that was hilarious.
That is a good one. Do you kind of tiptoeing back to Kino Lorber? I just personally got into that label a couple of months ago when they had their big, I think, a Black Friday sale or December sale.
I have a whole stack. I've been meaning to do a haul video of it. I love Frank Tarzi over there that runs that, man. He's the best.
I probably bought like 10 or 12 movies, and you sent me a list of movies that you helped create over there with your time over there. A couple of them that you made
I worked on aren't as good as his, but you can go through them.
Well, a couple of them that I picked up, you worked on, and one that I hope you have backstory to, because this movie is not talked about enough. Especially the director just keeps on growing in popularity. That's Dogtooth.
Oh yes. So I didn't do that acquisition. I definitely credit Richard Lorber did the acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
Don Krim, God rest his soul. Back then we were like, Blu-rays, to do Blu-rays were expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what had happened was we announced the DVD, and I think the DVD was coming out. We did not announce a Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a deal with Don Krim. I said to Don, look, if it gets nominated for an Oscar, we got to do a Blu-ray of that. And what I didn't tell him was I had already commissioned. My gut told me it was getting nominated for Best International Film. So I had already commissioned. The artwork was done. The packaging was done. The authoring was done. I literally I remember I spent the money, but if it didn't get nominated, I don't know what I would have done.
Right.
But I remember I was on the train on the way into Manhattan. I'm on my way to work, watching the Oscar nominations like 8:30 in the morning on like a flip phone or something. I remember it was crappy, and it got nominated. And I immediately was like dialing on the phone, print the disc. Let's get that into print. I remember giving the green light on the New Jersey Transit train. That's my story behind Dogtooth.
That's great.
But I mean, I was not involved. I didn't create the all the bonus, any bonus material.
Sure.
I don't know what's on that. That was all, But that was one I fought for to get on Blu-ray initially, and again because foreign and art house, we're talking 2010, 2011. We had to pick and choose our battles with that.
Right. Do you remember the movie at all off the top of your head?
I do. It's just it's very Yorgos Lanthimos-y.
This is like before he was a big thing, though. Yes, but
Before,
the director of The Lobster and Killing the Sacred Deer, Favorite, Poor Things.
Kino had 2 Yorgos Lanthimos films.
I saw this without knowing anything about him. I saw it in college. Blew my mind. Yeah.
With Richard Lorber and Don Krim, I used to say to him, "This company finds all these obscure international directors.
Mm-hmm.
You help make them popular, and then they leave Kino and they go take their bigger films elsewhere." So they had Pablo Larraín, which you can look up, and he's gone on to direct movies for Sony Pictures Classics. And they had Yorgos Lanthimos. I'm trying to think, there were other directors that had sort of come in. We sort of fostered their early part of their career, and then they move on.
Always step over the small guys, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's fine. You know what? They're very. They should be proud of Richard Lorber's taste in films is impeccable, and he was very good at. He was very good at picking films that would Ajami was another one that Richard Lorber and Don Krim put out that was nominated for a foreign film Oscar. They just were very good at what they did.
How have you? What are your thoughts on the trajectory that Kino Lorber has had since you've left the company?
My thoughts are that I think it's great that they continue to. You look at their releases; they continue to do the foreign and art house and the stuff that both Kino and Lorber films are known for, and the classics, and then the studio classics. I think is it's exactly it's basically it continues the idea of the thing that I wanted to do that I was there is how can we grow the business without affecting what made you Kino Lorber in the first place. And one might argue that the Kino Lorber Studio Classics is probably a bigger money maker than the rest of the stuff that they do at this point. But Frank Tarzi, who I just adore, has an insatiable appetite for content, and he gets an amazing amount of titles out. I envy his how he. I don't know how he does it, but I envy him.
They come out with a ton of stuff, and for me, it's almost like they kind of throw their arrows a little bit everywhere, to any type of collector of physical media. Whatever your taste is, they have something for you.
And I try to do the same thing with the stuff that I put out. There's no one type of film that I focus on. We're not, the Rewind collection can be anything, but it's just got to feel right. You know what I mean? Not every movie gets. Rain Man, while it's from the 80s, did not feel like a Rewind collection title. That's in the Marquee collection. But
correct.
It won an Oscar. It's I didn't think it would be right on the shelf next to Showdown or My Samurai. You know what I mean?
Correct. No, I don't think that Rain Man should be right next to Jack Frost. Absolutely not.
Yeah, it does. It has to be the right title. But I mean, listen, I could talk about Kino all night. I wouldn't have left there. I mean, listen, I got lured away by Olive Films for a generous salary, I'll just say. And, I wouldn't have to commute to New York anymore. I could work at home. I mean, who wouldn't take that chance? Unfortunately, my time at Olive was 14 months at the most, and it just wasn't a very fulfilling experience. Not for me in terms of my career.
I mean, that's what happens sometimes, though, in career moves. You think you take a step for the better, and sometimes it doesn't end up the way you think. But you can't say no. Yes,
not what I'd hope. I certainly it's sad to see another boutique label go. At the same time, at one point, Olive had me, Frank Tarzi. I'm trying to think. They literally had a dream team of acquisitions and sales. It's a shame, had things gone differently, that label would be huge today. That's all I'll say.
Okay. I want to ask more, but I
mean, it's just, it could have been huge. I mean, think about it.
Sure.
You had Brett Wood and Frank Tarzi and me there. Brett Wood, who did the classic stuff and like all those really nice box sets of he did a box. He does all these curating of these classic and foreign and art house films and stuff. And then Frank does all the Kino Lorber Studio classics. And I do a lot of this cult stuff. Imagine all these three different types of people in one company. And you imagine if you just allow us to do the thing that we do best, and you could just stand there and count the money. You know what I mean? But it just didn't work out. It didn't work out the way it hoped.
Right. And I'm assuming that's why they kind of ended up the way they did, is because they more or less like put reins instead of have the people that they hired kind of do what they do. Exactly.
I mean, a good manager delegates and gives the people that they put trust in the people that they hire to do the job.
Right.
I will say this though, because we were talking about Kino.
Mm-hmm.
So while I really, when I was at Olive, I really wanted to do I wanted to do a new transfer and a nice special edition of Cujo. And I shot, at one point, I managed to get together. This was in 2014. I got together 10 years ago. The director, Dee Wallace, Danny Pintaro. Trying to think of. I got the cast, the key cast members back together, and the director. We did this round table. We shot the whole thing. It was amazing. They had not been in the same room with each other for decades. And we shot it, we edited it, and Olive never used it. It's just sat there. But
I wonder where that is. Yeah.
Frank Tarzi was putting Cujo out on 4K, and I sent it to him. I'm like, please use this. It's something I was proud. I produced the piece. I was proud of it, and I was happy to see, for the collectors, they needed to see this thing. So I don't know if you have the Cujo 4K. It's in the box set, but you should watch it. I'm pretty proud of that.
I wonder why Olive Films would go to the lengths that they did to shoot everything and then just kind of sit it on a shelf. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Olive Films let me do it, but they didn't use it. We could have an entire. We could spend 2 hours just talking. Believe me, I could spend hours.
Sure.
But I wish the people that ran that company well, and it just wasn't a good place for me. And I'm happy that it worked out the way it did, because I wouldn't be doing the Rewind collection is like my favorite thing in the whole world to do.
Right.
Imagine having a job that doesn't feel like work.
It's the best. Yes.
Really
currently, that's kind of where I'm at. If you have a passion for what you're doing, you want to never stop doing that.
I mean, find something you would love. Find that thing you'd love to do, that you'd be willing to do for free, and then to find somebody to pay you to do that. Come on.
Right. Well, there's one story that I know that you kind of had help in, and it has to do with the movie Roadhouse. That's a story that I want to hear more of. Could you please go into more detail about it?
It's nothing fancy. I forget which movie it was. I was watching one of Kevin Smith's films, and he had a commentary. It was one of his movies with a commentary. Maybe I'm trying to think which one it was, but at one point during the commentary, he makes a comment to Scott Mosier that, they somehow got on the subject of Roadhouse on the commentary of his own film. And they start talking about Dalton and Roadhouse. But he says in the commentary, well, Sony, if you're listening, if you ever want, or MGM, if you're listening, if you ever want to do if you ever need somebody to do a commentary, call me, we'll do it. And then fast forward a few years later, I was working at Sony. I'm on a conference call with Sony, and we're discussing the MGM titles, because at the time Sony was part of the consortium. There was a consortium of banks that bought MGM, and Sony had the distribution of the MGM catalog for a year, and they were going to do a special edition of Roadhouse
Mhm.
because MGM made a Roadhouse 2, which we put out, by the way, also. But they were going to re-release Roadhouse 1, and I mentioned on the call about, you know, Kevin Smith said on this commentary of this movies I was watching, he would love to do a commentary for Roadhouse. And I don't know who did it, but somebody at Sony must have called Kevin Smith, booked it, and made it so. Because when Sony put the MGM Blu-ray or DVD of Roadhouse out, it did include a commentary by Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I affected that directly.
Right. And I know he's a fan of physical media as well. So yeah, if he,
yes, he
I'm
is.
guessing he just wanted to, that man likes to talk about a lot of different things. So to actually like have his thoughts on Roadhouse on the actual disc of Roadhouse, that had to have been a dream come true for him.
Dude, last year at his film festival, I got to do a panel. It was me and Kevin Smith.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. I mean,
right.
You know, this guy, I've produced a few movies in my career. One of which, my first film was called The Man from Earth, and I'm telling you, it's my Clerks. I mean, it was directly inspired by Clerks. You know,
sure.
I'm a guy from Jersey, and he, you know, when you watch Clerks for the first time, you realize this guy, you know, this is a guy that lived 90, 85 miles away from me. He lived in Jersey and did that. I said to myself, I can do that too, you know, and I did it.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. God, how long do you talk to Kevin Smith for? Like an hour and a half?
We did a panel. I don't know. It felt like at least an hour and a half. I mean, he wanted me to talk about distribution, independent films.
Nice.
I mean, he's holding up, you know, we talked about The Man from Earth and the Violence movie, you know, because I had produced some stuff and it was just, you know, I don't know. He's a lovely human being, and to have he's a lovely human being, and to be invited to be part of his film festival and to speak to his fans was a highlight of my career.
Yeah, that sounds like a dream come true. That would be
really
absolutely amazing to interview.
It was. I had to pinch myself. I brought a picture. I had met him at the East Coast Video Show. This is in October of 1997, and Miramax had a booth, which he was just sitting there. He wasn't really all that well known, promoting the Chasing Amy was going to be coming out on VHS tape and I guess Laserdisc.
Yeah, Criterion.
And he was there, like waiting to sign autographs. Imagine no line for Kevin Smith, but you know, the funny thing was I was there handing out resumes, trying to get a job in the home video business, and I was in Atlantic City, and I saw he was there. I went home. I got my Clerks Laserdisc. I brought it back in. I had him autographed. Still hangs on my wall. I got a picture with him, and that was in 1997. And then 25 years or whatever, 30 years or 25 years later, I got the same picture with him at that film festival. So
that's very cool.
So
you were collecting Laserdisc all the way back in 97. How long have you been collecting physical media for?
Well, I don't like to talk about my age, but I will just first movie I bought were the CED discs, and that was in 1984. I still have the first movie I bought on VHS was The Breakfast Club, which I have the tape. I still have my original tape that I bought and that was in 1985. And I don't know, do the math, man. This is 40 years of collecting.
Yeah, no, for 10,000 plus titles, it definitely shows, man. It's very, very, very daunting. I have around like 3,000 titles behind me. I couldn't imagine triple that.
Yeah, well, let's see, I'm going to say around 1986, 1987, I used to rent movies at National Video. And new release day back then was on Thursdays. And I made friends. I forget their names. One of the guys' name was David, maybe. I don't know. I made friends with the owners. And they were lovely people. I would go in there and they knew there was this kid who either rode his bike and then eventually got a driver's license. I would drive there. And on Thursday mornings, I'd show up and they would give me the copies of Video Store and Video Business Magazine, the trades. And I remember the first time I got a free movie, he gave me a copy of a screening copy of Rambo 3 from IVE Entertainment on VHS.
Okay.
And it said for promotional use only and everything on it.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me that and a couple others. I don't remember what the other ones were. This was probably in I guess it was 88. And he said to me, we get these screener tapes in. We're supposed to watch them, decide what to bring in. Do you want to take these home, watch them, let us know what you think?
Hmm.
And I said to him, this is where a light bulb went off in my head, because at this point I just started collecting. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm holding these tapes. I'm like, wait a minute, these are free? They send these for free? He's like, yeah, we get it from the distributor. I'm like, you get free movies from a distributor? He said, yes. And a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, I'm going to work in the home video business because I can get free movies if I work in the home video business. And, after that, in 1989, I worked for Hometown Video. After Hometown Video, I got a job at a distributor called Schwartz Brothers, which is a video distributor, because he said he got the free movies from the distributor.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I sort of worked my way up. I went from Schwartz Brothers. A few years later, I worked for Star Video, and then Valley Media to Our Entertainment. And then once I got Star Video, I was the brand manager for 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment at Valley Media or Star Video. But once I had 20th Century Fox in my resume, that would
right.
move me along, and it did.
Mm-hmm.
It really helped.
God, so that's crazy how like your trajectory has just went from this all the way to where you are now. That's very cool story, and you can tell just from like the amount of effort it took you to get that first little boost on your resume, just how hard you kind of work, and you can tell you're still doing that with the acquisitions you do to this day.
It was so hard, getting in. Remember, the reason I was at the East Coast Video Show was to hand out resumes to get a job in the business. I was trying to get a job. I had my college degree. I was at the time I was working in television, shooting local TV commercials and producing local television shows in Atlantic City. And I went to the East Coast Video Show because I knew all the companies were going to be there. And I said, I got to get, I had handed out resumes previous years there, but my brother, again, the great graphic designer, he made me fake press passes so I could get on the floor. I had made this fake movie poster that looked like a movie poster, like an ad. And it said, Eric Wilkinson is the applicant. And it looked like an ad, coming soon to home video. It looked like a home video ad.
Okay. I
printed it out. I had photoshopped my head because I didn't own a suit, but he photoshopped my head with me wearing a suit. I put that on the cover of a large envelope, put my resume on the inside, handed him out. And that's what got me my first job in the business. That was my 20th Century Fox brand manager. They hired me. They knew I didn't have any real experience other than having worked at a video store, but they knew that I knew movies. I had a good knowledge of catalog, and I'd done my homework. I had a college degree, and they took a shot. And it's
all you need is that first break, man, and then you kind of make your own stuff happen. Yeah,
making my brother designing that fake movie poster for me really it made all the difference in the world. I had handed resumes out there before. And no one ever called me back. But making what looked like a home video ad that you found in like the trades
made you stand out.
That really helped. And that's kind of, when you look at how I treat packaging, I basically did with myself. Did with my own person. I did what I do for these is I just made I made a really cool looking home video package. And, I've been fortunate in my career.
Well, I love that your brother helped you kind of get into the industry by making that for you. And now are helping him kind of put his own work out on your releases that you're helping get made.
And he does, and I'm going to get up for a second. He does his own stuff. So he works for, and I give him notes and stuff. But he works for Spirit Halloween and Spencer's.
Oh, really?
Did you see these things that they did?
Yes, that's great.
So he designed these. But I'm telling you, I given my experience, mind you, because we do the rewind collection.
VHS,
I make sure, again, the authenticity is amazing on these things. I got to watch the light.
For the podcast listeners on here, he's showing off Spirit Halloween made these VHS inspired tapes of just old horror IPs. He's showing off a Halloween 2 one.
But on the inside,
yeah.
But on the inside though, there's like trinkets and stuff. It's not a real tape. It's just got like a lanyard and some stuff on the inside.
So the packaging for products of that IP is next level. It's just great.
And so like we sort of, he helps me do the rewind stuff. When he calls, sometimes he'll call me up and say, "Can you write me a synopsis for the back of one of these?" Because they can't use the same one that's on the back. But I'm happy to give him notes for this stuff. And I love working with him. I mean, I love all my brothers and sisters, but we do a lot of. I've been fortunate that I have a brother as talented as he is, and I get to. I'm so lucky I get to do so much fun stuff with him, and I love it when he contribute, like his contribution, like some of the stuff he comes up with is amazing. Like when people complained about the for the Swamp Thing. People complained because we have a different numbered sequence on it, and they, not everybody wants to buy both the DVD and the Blu-ray. And David came up with this amazing idea we started with cutting class, so that's the front, and the side, the spine, has, the number right there.
Sure.
I'm trying to keep it out of the light. So, but then here's what David did, which is brilliant. If you flip it to the other side, he put the number sequence right here of the Rewind collection. So if you put it on your shelf with the rest of the Rewind titles.
Yeah, you can decide how you want to display it.
Yeah. So because some people like to have the number sequence. So here's 52, 53, 54, 55. And if you put this is the 4K, but if you put it the other spine out, you don't have to buy the Blu-ray to get the spines to be to have it nice and neat and match.
There you go.
And that's like that was his idea, you know what I mean, to contribute. And when we were doing the slip cover for this, his ideas are great. Like we didn't want to just a repeat. We wanted to have the spirit of the original packaging. We didn't have a lot of artwork options, but the bloody pencil and the paper, it just like he's so good. He so gets it. Like he totally gets the VHS look in culture.
And I enjoy your guys' packaging because you can tell that you're like a fan of the movie and putting little Easter egg things inside of the packaging like that. I love it when companies do that.
I know. I love I do love that he got the plastic, you held up that CED before, but he got this the plastic. Like if you look, I mean,
the tabs up top. Yeah,
the detail on this is great.
It's very good stuff.
It is good.
I guess one last thing that I want to touch on. You're on Boutique Talk. Do you have a favorite boutique label to collect? Out of all of the others, I love collecting all of them.
All right, I'm gonna be honest. Like, listen, I love all the boutique labels. I do, but I have my two favorites are Vinegar Syndrome and Arrow, without question. And the reason is the packaging on that Vinegar Syndrome, like the Roadhouse and the Showgirls. It's just
right.
I almost feel bad. I don't get too nuts with packaging on our stuff. I mean, it looks cool and everything, but in terms of, I try to keep the cost down. So if I put a title like, I don't know, Hail Caesar out, I can do it for $20. You know what I mean? The packaging is cheaper. It's okay as long as it looks cool and it's fun to look at and everything. But like those Arrow boxes that are in those thick, heavy slip boxes with the True Romance with the
steelbook inside,
steelbook and the book. I mean, it just feels so quality, doesn't it?
It's great.
It really is.
I mean, I'm starting to run out of space, so like the beefy boxes, I only get movies that I absolutely love. But for Vinegar Syndrome, I just started collecting them last year, and I will buy movies that are absolute garbage, but the packaging is so beautiful that I keep the movie anyway.
I mean, so for boutique labels, I love what Vinegar Syndrome does, and I love what Arrow does. I mean, like, I don't try to. Well, I don't even consider the stuff that we do as even competing with what they do. I mean, they're their own thing. They're so good at it. They're in their, Arrow's up there with Criterion, and
Sure.
in terms of just quality, and God bless them. And I love, and then I look at things like Blue Underground. Packaging's awesome too, but they're like the Blue Underground 4K transfers.
They're great. I feel like they don't get talked about enough.
They really don't. I mean, my God, if I told you how much money they spend and how much time they spend, you wouldn't believe me. But maybe you would believe me, because it's all there. When you look at when you buy a 4K of a Blue Underground title, you can rest assured you're getting the absolute best.
Right. Do you think that's why they only came out? I think they only came out like 2 or 3 titles last year. Blue Underground.
Yeah,
it's just because they spend so much time making it the best possible release. I don't think it's the expense.
I think it's not just the expense so much as I think it's either Bill or Greg, whoever's doing it there, is pouring over every last pixel and frame on that screen to make sure it's perfect. I do believe that. And they will not sell. They will not sell any wine before it's time. They do. If it takes that long to get it right, then you will have to wait until they get it right. But if you're going to spend your hard-earned money on one of their titles, you can, like I said, you can sleep well knowing that you're getting something good.
Yeah, I've never been disappointed with a Blue Underground.
Neither have I.
You're absolutely right.
Like, look at it. It's like, wow.
Yes, very good. Yeah, Arrow's great. What boutique label do you think had the best year last year? My vote would probably be for Arrow, just with the amount of sheer like heavy hitter titles that they had put out.
Probably Arrow. Yeah,
they did such a good job.
But I do love me some Shop Factory too, though, because like, what did I buy from them? I got that Creep Show big box of Creep Show, and it had a poster and all that stuff in there. I bought the Bill and Ted thing a few years back, and I had a George Carlin doll in it. Like, they do some pretty good. It's tough for me to, they're like all they're all children. I don't know. I don't want to play favorites with them. Like you could name every boutique label, and I could tell you something I love about it, each one of them.
I feel the same way. And I feel like I didn't realize what a boutique label was until I started like really looking into. Scream Factory was the first one that I started really like deep diving into. Yeah. And that was probably like 2017 when I started really getting into horror movies. I know you've been collecting forever. Do you remember like seeing like, oh, hey, this isn't a regular studio release title. This is something a little bit different. Do you remember seeing your first boutique title and what that was? Or maybe not even what that was, but just.
I'm trying to think like, yes, I do. Well, first of all, I worked at Anchor Bay.
Right.
And I knew who Anchor Bay was because they were sort of like an early boutique label.
In the DVD days? Absolutely.
Like, and the VHS days, even in the 90s. Early Anchor Bay was, they used to call them the Criterion of Cult back when, in the day. What happened with Anchor Bay was Anchor Bay had, they had dreams of becoming another Miramax. So, when Overture Pictures came in, and then, of course, the Weinsteins came in and changed what they did. But before Anchor Bay, the two boutique labels for me, without question, is Criterion.
Right, they've been around
one
forever.
Of back in the Laserdisc days, it's Criterion that taught me what widescreen was, and Elite Entertainment.
I've never even heard of that one.
You got to look them up. They have a few discs. They were in the Laserdisc days. I think they did the first releases of maybe Evil Dead, but the Laserdisc days and the early DVD days did some great releases.
Right.
But they were like the early boutique labels for me.
I'm definitely going to look that up. But one of like my holy grail pieces that I want to have for the collection are from Anchor Bay, those Necronomicon books that they came out with, the Book of the Dead.
I have an unopened. I
want one. Pack. I've seen a couple in the wild, but they're so weathered. Like they look terrible. They decompose like crazy.
The material they used to make it breaks down.
Yeah.
But I did just buy, because Amazon had it for $50, that Evil Dead box set, the 4Ks. Did you buy that?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I bought that too.
I
didn't
love
need it.
Evil Dead is one of my favorite franchises.
I
Yeah.
literally paid. I have Evil Dead 1 and 2 on 4K already, and I own the entire Ash versus Evil Dead series. So I
Mhm.
didn't need that box, but I literally bought it because I wanted the box.
The artwork looks amazing on it.
Artwork looks amazing. It does.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, very good. I think I touched upon everything that I wanted to,
No,
but
it's a lot of fun, man.
I feel like I could have you on again and we could talk for another 90 minutes
Anytime.
and not touch upon anything that we've already talked about.
I mean, this is just what I do. It's what I love to do. I don't mind talking about it at all. I mean,
Yeah.
Maybe next time we can walk. I'll give you a tour of the basement. We can walk around and show you all
That would be great. I would absolutely love
I've
that.
collected over the years.
That sounds phenomenal. And I get a feeling that a lot of people, the majority of the people in the industry, it's just kind of like a job. But for you, you have such a passion, and it shows just like talking with you. This was an absolute blast to have even a second of your time.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that listen, I'm grateful to people that support the Rewind collection and what we do. But you can rest assured, you can sleep well knowing that somebody who loves collecting physical media is behind all these. That I'm trying to do my best with every one of these releases to make it, not only pick the right movies to put out, stuff that's either never been out before or completely out of print. And I'm trying to make the releases as cool as possible. You can just, rest assured that there's somebody just like you here doing this thing here.
That's very cool. I can't wait to see what you have up your sleeve for this Laser Vision collection, because every single release has been great. Like I know
we're making there's going to be a new announcement. I haven't seen the artwork yet. I don't like to make announcements until the artwork's done, but hopefully in the next week.
Good to know. And I know that you kind of skipped numbers. Ghoulies 2 will be in 4K at some point. When that point is, I don't know, but at some point it will be.
Yes, and I got some other really cool titles that we picked up that I'm trying to get done. So that's why you'll notice, because I work sort of alone, is I'll announce two titles, and maybe a week later I'll announce a third title, and then I go quiet everywhere. I don't post anything or whatever, and then I get a couple more done, and then I go active again. I start making announcements again, and I get those done, I get those out, and then I go back to making more. So I try to get as many done as I can as possible. The one thing I'm proud of is we don't inundate. I know collectors feel compelled to buy, everything, and we don't inundate the collector with a ton of product. So, I think we put out maybe, we average one a month, if you count the marquee collection, maybe 1.5, 2 titles a month.
Sure.
But we don't go nuts. We keep it simple.
And just looking at all of them on a shelf looks very good. Like that's key to me. I made a whole boutique wall because I love the way it looks. All of the MVD Rewind collection just look great right next to each other.
It does. I just lined up my the Vestron video collection too, which it looks very good. I hope they don't.
Right.
I hope they keep that going.
I do too.
I was very. I don't take full credit for that one, of course, but I'm very proud of my contribution to that. I used to be. If you followed the Vestron Video Collector series, I was the Facebook page and all the posts. That was me doing all of that.
Oh, nice.
People didn't know, and at one point it overlapped, where I was doing all the Vestron page stuff and the rewind stuff, the early rewind stuff, and then it got to the point where I said I couldn't do both anymore. I put a big post up on the Vestron page, basically admitting, "Hey, this is Eric from Rewind." I think my name was Owen on that page. I'm like, "I'm Owen. I'm going to hand this page over to Lionsgate, and I'm going to focus over here now." So,
I think it's cool that you just had a little bit of whatever experience you had in Vestron Video. It's very cool because, like I said, you've been collecting forever. You knew what Vestron Video was like in the VHS days and everything.
I knew what it was. I knew what it was early on. There was, again, through a proxy, there was pushback of like, why would we use the Vestron name? No one. I think I was told that my friend was told that no one's going to care about that. And I said, how wrong. I'm like, how wrong that is. I'm like, I promise you, if you use Vestron, you will immediately have love from the collector's market. They're going to know exactly what it is that you're doing.
That's like advertising 101. What's old is new again. Just give it time, and you can. Yeah.
So
I could go into that for a long time too.
But. Yeah, and it was fun. I was sent like entire lists of the Lionsgate stuff, and it was fun to I sort of ranked. I saved all my spreadsheets. I created spreadsheets for them. I ranked everything. I'm like, this is what I told them. What if it was me? This is what I would be putting out. Mm-hmm. And they did most of the stuff that I had suggested is what they've done. In the beginning, they didn't want to deviate. It looked like they didn't want to deviate for anything but horror. I'm like, I took a lot of the things that Vestron didn't do is what I sort of applied to the Rewind collection. So the Vestron only focused on horror. I'm like, no, I think it should be more than horror. It's about just, Vestron wasn't just horror back in the 80s. They had all kinds of movies. And I wanted the Rewind collection to reflect that. I wanted the Vestron packaging to look distressed, like used videotapes. They didn't want to do that. So that came over to
you brought that onto yours. Yeah.
So there was
it's very cool. And when you tell me Vestron video and Rewind collection, I see a lot more similarities when I compare the two.
At the most, take a Rewind title with the spine and the number and put it next to a Vestron title.
Oh, sure.
The number, font, and everything lines right up.
Well, very cool, man. Yeah.
Thank you. Listen, I'm so happy. I don't have a ton of followers on social media, but I'm so happy to interact with the customers and the collectors and just be a part of this community. Even when I'm sitting, sometimes there'll be nights where my family's out or whatever, I'm sitting alone, I can pop on TikTok or social media and just, immediately just have fun conversations with people and stuff. It's great, man.
Right. There's a lot of, I post all my stuff to the YouTubes, Instagrams, TikToks, Facebooks, and every single one has its own tight-knit community. So I love just going in there. Like right now we're on YouTube. It's great. On every episode, I like to hint at who my next guest is going to be and just kind of get them prepared if we're going to talk about a movie or something. And the next guest that I'm going to have on next week is a big-ish guy in the physical media space on YouTube. Ooh. I'm having Ken from Mid-Level Media, and we're going to talk about Arrow Video and Brain Damage is the movie he wanted to talk about. I've never seen it, so I can't wait to watch it. The only thing I know about it is that it's kind of in the Basket Case universe, and I love Basket Case.
It is good. It is very good. You need to look, but check out I used to have that on Betamax, which I got rid of. It's the original packaging is great for that. That's a good one.
I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be a blast for sure.
Maybe what we should do is, if you're going to watch it, we should just jump on StreamYard and we'll set the cameras up. We watch it at the same time and see we can see your reaction to it.
I know that there are YouTubers that do like commentaries almost. I need to figure out how to get into that space because I watch a lot of movies all the time anyway. I might as well just like throw my 2 cents out while I'm watching it.
I'll keep that in mind because we occasionally, there's one guy that we work with that I love. Heath at Serial Midnight has overseen some of our commentary, so I'll absolutely keep you in mind. I'll have you both do one.
That would be phenomenal. If one of my dreams would be to have any piece of myself on a special feature on physical media, I would absolutely lose my mind.
That's why I'm stoked. Because I didn't make any new bonus features for joysticks, although but we have all the old bonus features. But there's a short that I starred in called Coin Slots. It's sort of a parody of joysticks, if you could be a parody of joysticks, and that is on the bonus features of joysticks. I am super proud of that. It's really cool. This filmmaker named Newt Wallen wrote and directed it. And also stars in it, and it's fun. But I get that was the one time I'm actually on the commentary and I'm on the bonus features. I don't like to insert myself that much into it, but Joysticks holds this very special place in my heart of a movie from my youth. Even though I know it's cheese and stupid, but I love it.
No, and honestly, like when you listen to commentaries and stuff, you want to make sure that the person that's on there has a passion for this stuff.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So
No,
that was,
it's good
but
stuff.
I'll definitely keep that in mind. So
That's correct. Thank you very much. And thank you for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it a lot. This has been episode number 17 of Boutique Talk. And until next time, I'll see you.